Hey everyone, welcome to the Latent Space podcast. This is Alessio, founder of Kernel Labs, and I'm joined by Swix, editor of Latent Space.
Hello, and we are here in the OpenAI DevDay studio with Sherwin and Christina from the OpenAI platform team. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
it's always to be here.
Yeah, it's such a nice thing. We've covered like 3 of these dev days now, and this is like the first time it's been like so well organized that we have our own little podcast studio in the dev day venue, and it's really nice to actually get a chance to sit down with you guys. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I feel like dev day is always a process, and like we've only had 3 of them, and we try to improve it every time. And yeah, I know for a fact that I think we have this podcast studio this time because the podcast interviews and the interviews with folks like yourselves last time went really well. And so we want to lean into it a little bit more, and glad that we were able to have this studio for you all.
We were kneeling on the ground interviewing like Michelle last year.
I didn't know that. I just saw it post-production. I thought it was...
We had to have people like cordon off the area so they wouldn't walk in front of the cameras.
Yeah, people would just come up, hey, good to... we're like recording. Nice.
I guess if you guys have been to 3, like what stood out from today, or what's your favorite part?
I feel like the vibes are just a lot more confident. Like you are obviously doing very well. You have the numbers to show it. Every year in DevDay, you report the number of developers. This year it's 4 million. I think last year was like 3. And I have more questions about that kind of stuff. But also like just like very interesting, very high confidence launches. And then also like I think the community is clearly much more developed. Like I think there's just a lot more things to dive into across the API surface area of OpenAI than I think last year in my mind. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and we were at the OG Dev Day, which was the DALL-E Hack Night at OpenAI in 2022, and I think Sam spoke to like 30 people. So I think it's just crazy to see the
honestly, I think it's kind of similar to this podcast studio, which is I think we've had a number of Dev Days now. We honestly were like slowly figuring things out as a company over time as well, and both from a product perspective and also from a like how we want to present ourselves with Dev Day. And at this point we've had a lot of feedback from people. I actually think a lot of the attendees you'll get like an email with like a chance for feedback as well. And we actually like do read those and we act on those. And like one of the things that we did this year that I really liked were all of those like there was like some art installations and like the little arcade games that we did, which was came up with via like engaging with feedback from the
the arcade games were so fun. I loved like the theme of all the ASCII art throughout. This is my first SF Dev Day, but I've been to the Singapore one. That was actually my first week.
Oh yeah, that's the one I spoke about.
I saw you there. That was my first week of OpenAI. So really in the deep end.
Put her on a plane to Singapore.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So that's congrats on everything, and like kudos to the organizing team. We should talk about some developer API stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover a few of the things. You're not exactly working on Apps SDK, but I guess what should people just generically take away? What should developers take away from the Apps SDK launch? Like, how do you internally view it?
So the way that I think about it is I actually view OpenAI since the very beginning as the company that has really valued kind of like opening up our technology and like bringing it out to the rest of the world. One thing we talk about a lot internally is, our mission at OpenAI is to, 1, build AGI, which we're trying to do, and then, but 2, potentially, just as important is to bring the benefits of that to the entire world. And one thing that we realized very early on is that we as a company, it's very difficult for us to just bring it to truly every corner of the world. And we really need to rely on developers, other third parties to be able to do this, which is, Greg talked about the start of the API and like kind of how, that was formulated. But that was part of that mentality, which is we need to rely on developers, and we need to open up our technology to the rest of the world so that they can partake for us to really fulfill our mission. So the API obviously is a very natural way of doing that, where we just literally expose API endpoints or expose tools for people to build things. But now that we have ChatGPT with its 800 million weekly active users, I forgot the stat that we shared. I think it's like now the 5th or like 6th largest website in the world. And
the number 1 and number 2 most downloaded on the Apple App Store.
Oh yeah, with Sora. Yeah, yeah, but that one like it moves around all the time, so it's kind of hard to celebrate. And
just screenshot it when it's good.
Yeah, we definitely screenshot it and shared it when it was good. But kind of going back to my main point is like we've always kind of engaged with developers as a way for us to bring the benefits of AGI to the rest of the world. And so I view this as actually a natural extension of this. Candidly, we've actually been trying to do this, a couple of times with last Dev Day with GPTs, 2 Dev Days ago with 2 devs ago with GPTs
and plugins,
which was, I think, not tied to a DevDay. So I view this as like, again, we love to deploy things so iteratively, and I view it as like just a continuation of that process, and also engaging deeply with developers and helping them benefit from some of the stuff that we have, which in this case is ChatGPT distribution.
And Apps SDK is built on the MCP protocol. When did OpenAI become MCP built? I'm sure internally you must have had, design discussions before about doing your own protocol. When did you buy into it, and how long ago was that?
I think it was in March, I want to say. It's hard for me to remember kind of like the exact.
March was the takeoff of MCP.
Okay, yeah. So we built the Agents SDK and we launched that alongside kind of the Responses API in early March. And I think as MCP was growing, that felt like a really, and we're building kind of a new agentic API that can call tools and just be much more powerful. MCP was kind of like the natural protocol that developers were already using to bring all the tools into their system. And I think like in March is when we added in MCP to Agents SDK first, and then soon after with kind of our other.
Yeah, I think there was like a tweet or something we did where it was like OpenAI, is.
Yeah, there was definitely a moment. I think there was a specific moment in a specific tweet.
But what I will say though is like, and this is honestly like credit to the team at Anthropic that kind of created MCP, is I really do think they treat it as an open protocol. Like we work very closely with, I think, like David and the folks on the consortium, and they are not really viewing it as this like thing that is specific to Anthropic. They really view it as this open protocol. There's it is an open protocol. The way in which you make changes feels very open. We actually have a member of our team, Nick Cooper, who is sitting on kind of like that steering committee for MCP as well. And so I think they are really treating it as something that is easy for us and other companies, everyone else to embrace, which I think they should, because they do want it to be something that is very embraced by all. And so because of that, I think it makes it a little bit easier for us to embrace it. And honestly, it's a great protocol. Like it's very general.
It's already solved. Like why would you make it?
Yeah, it's very general. There's obviously still more to do with it, but it was very easy for us to integrate because of how streamlined and how simple it was.
Yeah. My final comment on Apps SDK stuff, and then we'll move to AgentKit, is, like I always see it like in abstractly when you sort of wireframe a website or an AI app, it used to be that the initial AI integration on the website would be you have the normal website and then you have a little chatbot app. And now it's kind of like inverted, where like there's ChatGPT at the top layer, and then there's like kind of the website embedded inside of it. And it's kind of like that inversion that I honestly have been looking for a little bit. And I think it's really well done. Like all like the integrations and like the custom UI components that come up. You had like Canva on the keynote there, and it looks like Canva, but like you can chat with it in all the context of your ChatGPT. That is an experience I've never seen.
Yeah, and I think like that's kind of back to the iterative like learning that we've had. That I think was because we've learned a lot from plugins. So like when we launched plugins, I remember one of the feedback that we got. I don't know if people here really remember plugins. It was like March 2023.
Yeah.
But like one of the points of feedback was like, oh, you can integrate. We told like all these companies that you can integrate these plugins into ChatGPT, but they really didn't have that much control over how exactly it was used. It was really just like a tool that the model could call, and you were just like really bound by ChatGPT. And so I think like you can kind of see the evolution of our product with this. And like this time, we realized how important it was for companies, for third-party developers to really own and like steer the experience to make it feel like themselves, help them, really preserve their own brand. And so, I actually don't think we would have gotten that learning had we not, had all these other steps beforehand.
Awesome. Christina, you were the star today on stage with the AgentKit demo. You had 8 minutes to build an agent. You had a minute to spare. And then you have some issues with the
seconds.
Yeah,
with the
I wasn't
download
sure.
button.
Honestly, I was like, let's do a little bit less testing, and maybe I don't know how much time I killed on the.
I was extremely stressed when the download thing didn't work. I was like, if a UI bug is what like takes the demo down, I'm gonna be so sad.
I think it was a full screen, focus thing.
Yeah.
I heard the window wasn't in focus or something. Yeah.
Maybe you want to introduce AgentKit to the audience.
Yeah, so we launched AgentKit today, full set of solutions to build, deploy, and optimize agents. I think a lot of this comes from working with API customers and realizing how hard it actually is to build agents and then actually take them into production. Hard to get kind of that confidence and the iterative loop, and writing prompts, optimizing them, writing evals, all takes a lot of expertise. And so kind of taking those learnings and packaging them into a set of tools that makes it a lot easier and kind of intuitive to know what you need to do. And so there's a few different building blocks that can be used independently, but they're kind of stronger together because you then get the whole end-to-end system, and releasing that today for people to try out and see what they build.
Yeah, so I find it hard to hold all the building blocks in my head, but actually chronologically, it's really interesting that you guys started out with the Agent SDK first, and then you had Agent Builder, you have a connector registry, you have ChatKit, and then you have the eval stuff. Am I missing any major components? Those are the main moving parts, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. And then, I mean, we also still have like the RFT, like fine tuning API, but we technically group it outside of the AgentKit umbrella. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, so like it's weird how it develops, and it's now become the full agent platform, right? And I think one thing that I wasn't clear about when I was looking at the demo was it's very funny because like what you did on stage was build like a live chat app for DevDay's website.
Yeah, did you get a chance to try it out?
Yeah, I tried it out. It was awesome. And actually, I kind of wanted to ask like how to deploy.
Where's merch?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, where'd you click the merch? Anyway, and this is very close to home because I've done it for my conferences, and like it's a very similar process. But like I think what was not obvious is like how much is going to be done inside of Agent Builder. I see there's some actually very interesting nodes that you didn't get to talk about on stage, like user approval. That's like a whole thing, and like transform and set state. Like there's like a kind of like a Turing complete machine in here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, again, like this is the first time that we're showing Agent Builder. And so it's definitely the beginning of what we're building. And human approval is like one of those use cases that we want to go pretty deep on, I think. The node today that I showed is pretty simple, like binary approval.
Approve, reject.
It's similar to kind of what you'd see for MCP tools of, approving that an action can take place. But I think what we've seen with much more complex workflows from our users is that it's actually quite advanced, like human in the loop interaction. Sometimes these could be over like the course of weeks, right? It's not just kind of simple approval of a tool. There's actual decision making involved in it. And I think as we work with those customers, we definitely want to continue to go deeper onto those use cases too.
Yeah.
What's the entry point? So are developers also supposed to come here and then do the two-code export, like just segment like the use cases?
Yeah, I mean, so I think like the two reasons that you would come to Agent Builder are one, kind of more as a playground, right? To kind of model and iterate on your systems and write your prompts and optimize them and test them out. And then you can export it and run it in your own systems using Agents SDK, using kind of other models as well. The second would be kind of to get all of the benefits of us deploying that for you too. So you can kind of use maybe like natural language to describe what type of agent you want to build, model it out, bring in subject matter experts so that you really have this canvas for iterating on it and getting feedback, building data sets and kind of getting feedback from those subject matter experts as well. And then being able to deploy it all without needing to handle that on your own. And that's a lot of the philosophy around how we're building it with ChatKit as well, right? You can kind of take pieces of it. You can have a more advanced integration where it's much more customized, but you also get a really natural path of going live with really kind of easy defaults as well. Do
you see it as a two-way thing? So I build here, I go to code, then maybe I make changes in code, and then I bring those changes back to the agent builder?
I think eventually that's definitely what we want to do. So maybe you could start off in code, you could bring it in. We'll also probably have like ability to, run code in the agent builder as well. And so I think just a lot of flexibility around
The one thing I'd say too is a lot of the demos that we showed today, I think were aired on the side of simplicity just so that the audience could kind of see it. But like if you talk to a lot of these customers, like they're building like pretty complex, like you got to like zoom out on that canvas quite a bit to kind of like see the full flow. And then for us, we were kind of like working with a lot of customers who are doing this. And then if you turn that into like an actual Agents SDK like file, it's pretty long. And so we saw a lot of like benefit from having the visual setup here, especially as the setup grows longer and longer. It would have been a little difficult to kind of showcase this, but even on like some of the
8 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, you can do it in 8 minutes. But like even with some of the presets that we have on the site,
exactly.
with like the
so one of
thing,
one of the things that we launched today as well, alongside just like the canvas, is a set of templates that we've actually gathered from our engineers who are working in the field with customers directly, of like the kind of common patterns that they have in our own basically like playbooks when we're working with customers on customer support, discovery, and so kind of publishing those as well.
Data enrichment, planning helper, customer service, structured data Q&A, document comparison, that's nice, internal knowledge assistant.
Yeah. And I think like we just plan to add more to those as we can kind of build those out.
I always wonder if there should be, so you're not the only agent builders, but obviously by default of being an OpenAI, you are a very significant one. Any interest in like a protocol or like interop between different open source implementations of this kind of pattern of agent builder?
I think we've thought about it, especially around, I'd say, Agents SDK. I would actually say maybe even like zooming out a bit more from just this is like, yeah, we were also sitting here and kind of like observing like things being made over and over again. Even like besides like agent workflows, we're kind of watching what the industry's trying to do with responses, like what we've done with Responses API, like stateful APIs. And so, obviously we were the first one to launch Responses API, but like a couple of other people have kind of adopted. I think Grok has it in their API. I think I saw LMSys just did something recently in Wells, but not everyone. And so, unfortunately, I don't have a great answer today of like yes or no, but we are kind of like assessing everything and trying to see like, hey, there has been a lot of value with MCP, with hopefully with our commerce protocol as well. ACP, yeah, I definitely did not forget the name. And so like even thinking about like what we want to do with agents, with the agent workflow, the portability story around that, as well as the portability, I'd say even of like Responses API, would be great if that could be a standard or something, and developers don't need to like build 3 different stateful API integrations if they want to use different models.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the so it's not exactly a protocol, but one of the things that we launched today with evals too is ability to use like third-party models as well and kind of bring that into one place. And so I think definitely kind of see where the ecosystem is at, which is, using multi-models and kind of having
third-party models as in non-OpenAI models?
Yeah. It'll work with evals starting today.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
We have a really cool setup with Open Router, where we're working with them, and then you can bring your Open Router setup, and then with that you can actually, you write your evals using our datasets tool or use our dataset tool to create a bunch of evals, and you'd actually be able to hit a bunch of different model providers. Take your pick from wherever, even like open source ones on together, and see the results in our product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking more about evals, right? Like, I think I saw somewhere in the release docs that you basically had to expand the evals product a little bit to allow for agent evals. Maybe you can talk about like what you had to do there.
Yeah.
You have an answer?
Yeah, I was gonna say so. I actually think agent evals is still a work in progress. So I think we've like made maybe 10% of the progress that we need here. For example, I think we could still do a lot more around multimodal evals. But the main progress that we made this time was kind of allowing you to take traces. So the Agents SDK has like really nice traces feature where if you define things, you can have like a really long trace, allowing you to use that in the evals product and be able to grade it in some way, shape, or form over the entirety of what it's supposed to be doing. I think this is step one. Like, I think it's good to be able to do this, but I think our roadmap from here on out is to really allow you to break down the different parts of the trace and allow you to eval and like kind of like measure each of those and optimize each of those as well. A lot of the times this will involve human in the loop as well, which is why we have the human in the loop component here too. But if you kind of look at our evals product over the last year, it's been very simple. It's been much more geared towards this like simple prompt completion setup. But obviously, as we see people doing these longer agentic traces, like, how do you even evaluate a 20-minute task correctly? And it's a really hard problem. We're trying to set up our evals product to move in that way to help you not only evaluate the overall trajectory, but also individual parts of it.
Yeah. I mean, the magic keyword is rubrics, right? Everyone wants LM as judge rubrics.
Yep.
Obviously, where this will go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The other thing I think online, I see the developer community are very excited about is sort of automated prompts optimization, which is kind of evals in the loop with prompts. What's the thinking there? Where's things going?
Yeah, so we have automated prompt optimization, but again, like I think this is an area that we definitely want to invest more in. We I think did a pretty big launch of this when we launched GPT-5 actually, because we saw that it was pretty difficult as new models come out to kind of learn all the quirks about a new model.
Yeah, the prompt optimizer.
Right, there's like we have a big prompting guide right for every model that we launch, and I think building out a system to make that a lot easier. We definitely want to tie that in like completely with evals. We should be able to kind of improve your prompts over time, improve your agents over time as well if they're kind of made in the agent builder based on the evals that you've set up. And so I think we see this as like a pretty core part of the platform, of basically suggested improvements to the things that you're building.
I actually think it's a really cool time right now in prompt optimization. I'm sure you guys are seeing this too. It's like not only are there a lot of products kind of like gearing around this, so like kind of what we're thinking about, but I also think like there's a lot of interesting research around this, like GEPA with like the Databricks folks are actually doing really cool stuff around this. We're obviously not doing any of the cool GEPA optimization right now in our product, but would love to do that soon. And also it's just an active research area. So like, whatever Matei and the Databricks folks like might think about next, what we might, think about internally as well. Whatever new prompt optimization techniques come out, I think we'd love to be able to have that in our product as well. And it's interesting because it's coming at a time when people are realizing that prompt, like I feel like 2 years ago people were like, oh, at some point prompting is going to be dead.
No.
And and it's like,
it's gone up.
Yeah. And if anything, it has like become more and more entrenched. I think that, there's this interesting trend where like it's becoming more and more important. And then there's also interesting, cool work being done to like further entrench like prompt optimization. And so that's why I just think it's like a very fascinating, area to follow right now. And also was an area where I think a lot of us were wrong 2 years ago, because if anything, it's only gotten more important.
Yeah, I would say like what Shun Yu used to work at OpenAI, now as an MSL, we call this kind of like zero gradient fine tuning or zero gradient updating, because you're just tweaking the prompts. But like it is so much prompt that is actually like you end up with a different model at the end of it.
There's a lot of like things that make it more practical too, just like even from our perspective. Like we have a fine-tuning API, and like it is extremely difficult for us to run, and serve like all of these different snapshots. Like, Laura's great. MSL just, Thinking Labs just published, John Schulman just had a cool blog post about this. But like, man, it is like pretty difficult for us to like manage all of these different snapshots. And so if there is a way to like hill climb and do this like zero gradient like optimization via prompts, like, I'm all for it. And I think developers should be all for it, because you get all these gains without having to do any of the fancy fine tuning work.
Since you are part of the API team, you lead the API team, and since you mentioned Thinky, I got to throw a cheeky one in there. What do you think about the Tinker API?
So, it's a good one. So it's actually funny, when it launched, I actually DM'd John Schulman, and I was like,
really?
Wow, we finally launched it. So
because you used to work with him.
So we is actually funny. So at so right when I joined OpenAI, like this has actually been I think a passion project of John's. Like he's been talking about doing something in this like in this shape for a while, which is like a truly like low level research like fine tuning library. And so we actually talked about it quite a bit when he was at OpenAI as well. It's actually funny. I talked to one of my friends who said that when he was at Anthropic, he also worked on this idea for a bit. And I think now
he's a man on a mission.
I mean, John's like so great in this regard. He's like so purely just like interested in the impact of this, because it's like a really cool problem, and then two, it also empowers builders and researchers. Like you saw all the researchers who like express all this love for Tinker, because it is a really great product. And so I'm just really happy to see that they shipped it, and I think he was really happy to kind of get it out there in the world as well.
Yeah, this is very much a digression, but like it's weird as someone passionate about API design that it took this long to find a good fine-tuning API abstraction, which is effectively all he wanted. He was like guys, like I don't want to worry about all the infra. Like I'm a researcher. I just want these 4 functions, and like it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Before the OpenAI comms team barges in the room.
I know. Yeah.
So what feedback do you want from people on like the agent builder? For example, the thing I was surprised by was the if-else blocks not being natural language and using the common expression language. I'm sure that's something already on your roadmap. What are other things where you're kind of like at a fork that you would love more input on?
I think like one of the things that we spent a lot of time discussing was like whether we want kind of more of like the deterministic workflows or more LLM driven workflows. And so I think like getting feedback on that, honestly, having people model existing workflow. A lot of what we did was kind of work with our team on, especially with engineers who are working with customers, like modeling the workflows that already exist in the agent builder, and like what gaps exist, like what types of nodes are really common, and how can we like add those in. I think that would be like the most helpful feedback to get back. And then as we expand kind of from just like chat-based, like right now the initial deployment for Agent Builder is through ChatKit. We plan on kind of releasing more standalone like workflow runs as well, and kind of the types of like tasks that people would like to use in that type of API.
So like more modalities, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think like for sure, like more modalities, like I think kind of voice would be is already something that a lot of people have talked to us about even today at DevDay. So I think modalities for sure, but also more like the logical nodes of what can't be expressed today.
Yeah. Well, you're building a language, right? You have common expression language, which I never heard of prior to this. I thought this was Python, this is JavaScript, and then there was like a whole link in there. Was that a big decision for you guys?
I think that was more just kind of like a way that we thought we could kind of represent a mix of like the varials and I don't know, like conditional statements.
The other thing I'll also mention is that there's a trope in developer tooling where like anything that can store state will eventually be used as a database, including DNS. So be prepared for your state store to become a database. I don't know if there's like any limits on that because people will be using it.
It's actually funny. Yeah, I'd heard this quote before, and there's definitely some truth to it. I don't know if our stateful APIs have become a database just quite yet, but like, who knows? Like,
I mean, conversations.
Well, you charge for it. You charge for assistance,
storage.
The storage.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some limit on that, but like.
Yeah, but it's very cheap. It's like I remember we priced it like.
I think if you wanted to kind of like dump all your data somewhere, I don't know. This is like the most. Like transforming it all into this shape. It's like
it's useful. It's easy.
Best place to put it, but yeah.
But also, please don't do this because I think it'll put quite a bit of strain on Venkat and our infra team and what we try and do. So yeah.
How do you think about the MCP side? So you have OpenAI first-party connectors. You have third-party preferred, I guess, servers you would call them, and then you have open-ended ones. Do you see that part of registry-like functionality expanding, or do you see most of it being user-driven? Auth is like the biggest thing. Like if you add Gmail and Calendar and Drive, you have to like auth each of them separately. There's not like a canonical auth. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely for the registry, that's why we want to make it a lot easier for like companies to kind of manage what their like developers have access to, managing kind of the configurations around it. And I think in terms of like first party versus third party, like we want to support both of those. We have some direct integrations, and then I don't know, anyone can kind of create MCP servers. I think we want to make that a lot easier too, like establish kind of private links for companies to use those internally. So I think like just really excited about that ecosystem growing.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things observed too is just I actually think we as an industry are still trying to figure out the ideal shape of connectors. So, I mean, part of why I think the 1P connectors exist too, like we end up storing quite a bit of state. It's like a lot of work for us. But like by having a lot of state on our side, we call them sync connectors, we can actually end up doing a lot more creative stuff on our side when you're chatting with ChatGPT and using these connectors to kind of boost the quality of how you're using it, right? Like if you have all the data there, you can do all this like re-ranking. You can we can put it in a vector store if you want, we can put it anywhere else. And so there's some inherent trade-offs here where like you put in a lot of work to get these like 1P connectors working, but because you have the data, you can do a lot more and get higher quality. But then the question is like, oh my God, there's like such a long tail of other things, which is where the MCP and like the third-party connectors come in. But then you have the trade-off of like you're beholden to like the API shape of the MCP creator. It might actually work well, it might not work well with the models. And then what happens if it doesn't work well? Then you kind of have to like, you're kind of like at the mercy of this. And MCP, by the way, is like really great because it already does some layer of standardization, but my sense is there's still going to be more evolving here. And I think, we want to support both of them because we see value in both right now, especially working with developers. We want to have kind of like all options kind of on the table here, but it will be interesting to see how this evolves over time.
Yeah, when I saw about 3-4 months ago when you launched the forum for like signing with ChatGPT interest, I think to me, that's kind of like the vision where I log in and I have the MCPs tied in, and then I sign in with ChatGPT somewhere, and I can run these workflows in that app where I'm logging in. So, I think Sam, said in an interview that he sees ChatGPT as like your personal assistant. So, I think this is like a great step in that direction.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to go in that direction.
But so far, no plan on like ChatGPT or OpenAI as IDP, right? Which is a different role in the auth ecosystem.
Yeah, it's interesting because direct answer is like no plans right now, of course. But I actually think we currently have some version of this, which is our partnership with Apple. Because with Apple, you can actually sign in to your ChatGPT account, and some of that identity does carry with you into your iOS experience with Siri, right? Like if you I don't know if you've actually used this the Siri integration. I actually use it quite a bit, but if you sign into your ChatGPT account, the Siri integration will actually use your subscription status to decide what type of model to use when it passes things over to ChatGPT. And so if you're just a free user, you get the free model. But if you're a Plus or a Pro subscriber, you get routed to GPT-5, which is I think what they.
I think we also recently announced the partnership with Kakao.
Oh yeah, Kakao's another one.
Yeah, where I think a similar thing where you can sign in with ChatGPT. Kakao is one of the largest messenger apps in Korea, and kind of interact with Kakao directly there.
Yeah, I mean, Sam's been talking about it for a while. It's a very compelling vision. We obviously want to be very thoughtful with kind of how we do it.
Now you have a social network, you have a developer platform. Like my ChatGPT account is very, very valuable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then on the other side of auth is something I was really interested to look at, and I couldn't get a straight answer. Is there some form of bring your own key for AgentKit? Like when I expose it to the wider world, obviously, like by default, I'm paying for all the inference, but it'd be nice for that to have a limit. And then if you want more, you can bring your own key.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have something like that yet, but I think, it's definitely an interesting area too.
Yeah, it doesn't do it out of the box today, but developers have been asking about it for forever.
Yeah.
Like it's a really cool concept because then as a developer, especially an indie developer, you don't need to bear the burden of inference.
Yeah, I think like when you get into the business of like agent builders that are publicly exposed, where you have like an allow list of domains, like this is it rhymes with this exact pattern of like someone has to bear the cost, and like sometimes you want to mess around with like the different levels of responsibility.
Yeah. I will say in general, like if you kind of look at our roadmap, we engage a lot with developers. We kind of hear what are the pain points, and we try and build things that address it. And and ideally, we're prioritizing in a way that's helpful. But yeah, we've definitely heard from a good number of developers that like the cost is, or like all of the like copy paste your key like solutions right now, which are like huge security like hazards, because developers don't want to bear the burden of inference. Hopefully we make the cost cheaper, so
the models keep getting cheaper.
So hopefully that helps, But what we realize is as we make it cheaper, the demand for that goes up even more, and you end up, still spending quite a bit. But so we definitely heard this from a lot of developers, and it's definitely something top of mind.
Yeah.
Do you see this as mostly like an internal tools platform though? Like to me, like you've been doing a big push on like the more forward deployed engineering things. It's almost like, hey, we needed to build this for ourselves as we sell into these enterprises, might as well open it up to everybody. What drives building these tools? Like you think of people building tools to then expose, or mostly on the internal side?
Yeah, I mean, and so like I think our first deployment is ChatKit, which is kind of it's intended to be for external users. But I think one of the things that we also did see a lot as we were working with customers is that a lot of companies have actually built some version of an agent builder internally to kind of manage prompts internally, to manage templates that they're sharing across the different developers that they have, maybe the different product areas. And we were seeing that kind of like over and over again as well. And really wanted to like build a platform so that this is not, an area that every company needs to invest in and like rebuild from scratch, but that they can kind of have a place where they can manage these templates, manage these prompts, and really focus on the parts of agent building that is more unique to their like business.
It is interesting too, like from a deployment perspective, it is like it has spanned both internal and external use cases, right? Like kind of like these internal platforms, people use it for like data processing or something, which is an internal use case. But if you saw some of the demos today, like there have been a huge number of companies that are trying to do this for external facing use cases as well.
Customer service is one template.
Customer service, the like ramp use case.
We use this internally and externally. Like our customer support help.openai.com already powered on AgentKit, and then various other like internal use cases as well.
And one of the things that I actually think the team has done a really great job of, so like Tyler, David, and Jiwon on the team, they built the especially the chat kit components. They built it to be like very consumer grade and like very polished. Like you kind of look at that. There's like a whole grid of like the different widgets and things that you could create there. Like ideally, people see it and they see it as like these very polished, like consumer grade ready, external facing things versus like you think of internal tools and like the UI is always like the last thing that people care about. But like you really push the team, and I think they did a really great job of making the chat kit experience like really, really consumer grade, and it should feel almost like ChatGPT, and with like really buttery smooth animations and like really responsive designs and all of that.
Yeah, I think your point on widgets is like definitely like really resonates, right? Because ChatKit, it handles the chat UX, but we're also just building like really visual ways for you to represent like every action that you want to take, and that is definitely like very high polished.
Yeah, and when working with customers, like those have been the most helpful customers for us to work with, because when Ramp is thinking about how what they want to publicly present to people, like they have a pretty high bar, as they should, as well as all the other customers that have been iterating on it, and so that kind of feedback from our customers has really helped us up level the general product quality of the launch that we had today as well.
Yeah. Would you open source ChatKit?
Talked about it. We've talked about it. There are a bunch of trade-offs.
I think so. So ChatKit itself is like an embeddable iframe, and so I think the actual
it's an iframe.
Yeah,
I thought it was
right.
like
And so that helps us keep it like evergreen, right? So if you are using ChatKit and we come up with a new model that reasons in a different way, right? Or kind of new modalities that you don't actually need to rebuild and like pull in new components to use it in the front end. I think there's parts of, widgets, for example, that is much more like a language and can definitely is something that is easier to explore that for, as well as kind of the design system that we've built for ChatKit. But I think like as part of, the actual iframe itself, I think there's a lot of value in that being, more
Hosted.
evergreen, more evergreen experience that is a pretty opinionated.
Like there'd be no point being open source.
Right.
You want
then you don't get the benefits of it.
Being Stripe alums, like Stripe checkout, like it's auto optimized for you to like.
So I'm not a Stripe alum, but Christina is.
And the team actually is the team that built
Stripe
checkout. So it's very similar philosophically, right? So Stripe, can build elements and checkout, and not every business needs to rebuild, right, the pieces that are really common. And I think we see the same with chat. We see chat being built over and over again, especially as we kind of come up with new, modalities like reasoning, everything. It's not really something that is easy to keep up to date. And so we should just do that and leave kind of the hard parts of building agents again to the developers.
Does it feel, I know WordPress is like a bad connotation in a lot of circles, but to me, it almost feels like the WordPress equivalent of like chat. It's like, hey, this is like drop-in thing, and then you have all these different widgets. Do you see the widget becoming a big kind of like developer ecosystem where people share a widget? Is that kind of like a first-party thing? And then what's like the
Theme
MCP
forest.
versus...
Widget forest.
No, exactly. It's kind of like... It seems great for people that are like in between being technical and like not really being technical enough.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of building widgets, right? Like it's already kind of in the language that is very consumer friendly. You can use in our widget builder already. You can kind of use AI to create those widgets, and they look pretty good. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to try that out yet, but definitely see kind of a forest.
If you haven't tried out the Widget Studio and the demo apps as well,
you got a custom domain like widget.studio, which is cool.
Actually, don't know how we got that, but
everything's in ChatKit.studio, and then we have like the playground there, so you can try out what ChatKit would look like with all the customizations. We have ChatKit.world, which is a fun site we built. I was like spinning the globe for a while this morning. It was
I think
it was
Kasha,
like a fidget spinner.
Kasha also like uploaded some of her like solar system stuff and all the demos as well.
And then that's where like the widget builder.
So it's really come together. Like it's taken like almost more than a year to like come together and like build all this stuff, but it's coming together. It's like really interesting.
It's something that we like.
You definitely planned all of this up front.
Oh yeah. We have the master plan from 3 years ago. No, but like I think especially on this stuff, I think there was like an arc of a general like, platform that we did want to kind of build around. And it takes a while to build these things. Obviously, Codex helps speed it up quite a bit now. But I will say it does seem great to kind of like start to have all the pieces start fitting together.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw we launched evals and we had the fine tuning API for a while. And we laid all the groundwork for some of this stuff over the last year. And we're hoping that we can eventually, make it into this full featured platform that's helpful for people.
I think you have. Since you did the Codex mention, maybe a quick tip from each of you on Codex power user tools or tips.
So there's actually a funny one that one of the new grads has I think like taught our team in general, and I think this is like a point for like just how like new grads and younger generation people are actually more AI native. So one of them is to like really lean into like push yourself to like trust the model to do more and more. So like I feel like the way that I was using Codex, and so for me it's usually for my personal projects they don't let me touch the code anymore. But you give it like small tasks, so you're like not really trusting it. Like I view it as like this like intern that I really don't trust. But what a lot of the so we had an intern class this year. What a lot of the interns would do is just like full YOLO mode, like trust it to like write the whole feature. And it doesn't work.
For worse.
It doesn't work sometimes, but I don't know, 30-40% of the time it just one shots it. I actually haven't tried this with Codex, GPT-5 Codex. I bet it probably one shots it even more. Yeah. But one tip that I'm starting to I have to undo this, relearn things here, is to really lean into the AGI component of it and just really let the model rip and kind of trust it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it can actually do stuff that surprises me, and then I have to readjust my priors. Whereas before I feel like I was in this safe space of I'm just treating this, I'm giving this thing a tiny bit of rope.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was kind of limiting myself with how effective I could be.
Sure, but okay. But also, is there an etiquette around submitting effectively, vibe coded PRs that someone else now has to review, right? And it's it can be offensive.
We have Codex to reviews now.
Okay.
It actually reviews itself.
Does Codex approve its own PRs a lot more than humans?
No, it doesn't get approved them. But
I was going to say, I think the Codex PR reviews are actually one of the things that my team very much relies on. I think they're very, very high quality reviews.
Yeah.
On the Codex PR side, for the visual agents builder, we only started that probably less than 2 months ago. And that wouldn't be possible without Codex. So I think there's definitely a lot of use of Codex internally, and it keeps getting better and better. And so, I think people are just finding they can rely on it more and more. And it's not, totally vibe coded. It's still, checked and edited, but definitely as a kicking off point. And I think I've heard of people on my team, it's on their way to work, they're kicking off 5 Codex tasks because the bus takes 30 minutes, right? And you get to the office and it kind of helps you orient yourself for the day. You're okay, now I know the files, I have the rough sense. Maybe I don't even take that PR and I actually just still code it, but it helps you just context switch so much faster too and be able to orient yourself in a code base.
There's so many meetings nowadays where I have one-on-ones with engineers and I walk into the room, they're wait, give me a second. I got to kick off my Codex thing. I'm oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We're about to enter async zone.
Almost your notes, right? You're let me.
And they're typing okay, now we can start our one-on-one because now it's great.
Yeah. Cool. We're almost out of time. I wanted to leave a little bit of time for you to shout out the Service Health Dashboard because I know you're passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
Tell people what it is and why it matters.
Yeah, so this is a launch that we actually didn't, it didn't get any stage time today, but it was actually something I'm really excited about. So we launched this thing called the Service Health Dashboard. You can now go into your usage or your settings account and kind of see the health of your integration with our OpenAI API. And so this is scoped to your own org. So basically, if you have an integration that's running with us, doing a bunch of tokens per minute or a bunch of queries, it's now tracking each of those responses, looking at your token velocity, TPM that you're getting, the throughput, as well as the responses, the response codes. And so you can see kind of a real-time personal SLO for your integration. The reason why I care a lot about this is obviously over the last year, we've spent a lot of time thinking about reliability. We had that really bad outage last December, longest 3-4 hours of my life, and then had to, talk to a bunch of customers. We haven't had one that bad since, knock on wood. We've done a bunch of work. We have an infra team led by Venkat, and they've been working with Jana on our team, and they've just been doing so much good work to get reliability better. And so we actually, again, knock on wood, we think we've got reliability in a spot where we're comfortable kind of putting this out there. and kind of like letting people actually see their SLO. And hopefully, it's 3, 4, soon to be 5 nines. But the reason why I cared a lot about it is because we spent so much time on it, and we feel confident enough to kind of have it behind a product now.
5 nines is like 2 minutes of outage or something.
Yeah. We're working to get to 5 nines. Yeah.
What does an extra 9 take?
It's exponentially more work. So, but like we were, in the last couple of years, we were talking about like hitting 3 nines and then hitting 3.5 nines and then hitting 4 nines. But yeah, it's exponentially more work. I could go for a while on the different topics, but
we'll have to do that in a follow-up. Like, I mean, that's the engineering side, right?
Yes.
Like you're serving 6 billion tokens per minute.
We actually zoomed past that. Yeah, that's
outdated.
Yeah, but it's been crazy the growth that we've seen.
Awesome. I know we're out of time. It's been a long day for both of you, so we'll let you go. But thank you both for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it.